Hello, welcome back to Sextras.
Where we talk about sex and all the extras.
I'm Honey,
And I'm Maria.
and today we're going to talk about friendship difficulties.
Yeah, and conflict and confrontation
Mm-hmm.
and all those lovely things.
Yeah, this is the second episode in our friendship mini-series, so make sure you go check out the first one. We talked about when friendship becomes more than friendship. So if you catch feelings for someone or you sleep with your friends. Juicy.
Yeah, and then we've also got the third one coming, guys. Honestly, we're really
You
going to
must
wrap it up
listen.
nicely for you. Because I feel like, you know, in the first two were a bit more like our opinions, our experiences, just waffle, really. And then,
The vibe.
yeah, you know, we actually like get some real advice and insight and knowledge from a friendship expert. So definitely tune in to the guest next week.
Yeah, and she was so helpful, honestly, and like just such a lovely person. So yeah, definitely tune in next week. But yeah, we're gonna talk about, well, we already said what we're gonna talk about, so I guess let's just talk about it.
Yeah, so we asked you guys, do you find it harder to bring up problems with a friend or with a romantic partner? And 27% of people said with a friend, and 73% of people said with a romantic partner.
So yeah, quite unexpected, really. I mean, also not, I don't know. I think I have such a skewed like outlook on life because I'm single. I'm just like, everyone has the same problems as me.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of started from a debate of like, there's reasons why we think that it would be harder with a romantic partner, and then there's reasons why we think it would be harder with a friend.
Yeah.
But what would you say? You disagree? You think it's harder with a friend than with a romantic
Yeah, but I
partner?
think I've just like gone to the phase where I forget what relationships are like now. Like, I don't remember how I act in a relationship, so yeah, I do think that I find it hard, but right now my like current reality is friendship. I'm dating my friends, you know. But I do think it's quite interesting because we have like different standards for our friends than we do our romantic partners. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't really know why that is. It's just weird that we don't let romantic partners get away with things that we would let friends get away with,
Yeah.
and like vice versa. Like, you just have different standards.
Yeah, I feel like you have way higher standards and expectations of a romantic partner to like think about you, like put you into consideration, your emotion. I don't know, like to me it just feels like there's a lot more like emotionally at stake with basically like any action, like, the same behavior from like a friend versus my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like there's so much more like at stake.
Yeah, but like what I was saying is that you make a friend for life. Like, that is someone that's going to be around you forever. And so like, what kind of energy do you want that relationship to be bringing to your life? How do you like, just, I guess it's like, in the grand scheme of things, is this problem like that big of a deal to our friendship? Is it personally impacting me? Yes or no? Like, if yes, then I guess you do bring it up. But it's like, why do we find it so hard to feel like we don't have a right to have a say in our friends' lives in the same way as we do with our romantic partners, you know?
But I'm seeing it more in like a negative way, in the way that we like see our romantic relationships. Like, why do we find that we have such a say
Yeah, no,
in someone
I
else's
agree,
life
yeah.
and behavior? Because like, I don't know, it's just the way I think about it is more like, oh well, like my friends can just like live their life. I feel like I have more understanding for my friends of like them just living their life. And
Yeah,
it's
no,
like,
completely.
I don't take things so personally. You know, like as I was saying, like the exact same thing. Like, I just wouldn't take it personally. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think that we should have like more stake necessarily. I feel like
Yeah.
maybe it should be easier to like talk about what we actually like expect of our friends, and like
Yeah.
even within ourselves, like I feel like we don't think about enough like, what do I actually expect from this person, and like, oh, why do I feel like so disappointed if they cancel on me 3 times in a
Yeah.
row, or like, you know, that kind of shit. It's like, well, because they disrespected my time, like I care about this person, it feels
Yeah.
like they're not like giving back what I'm giving them, like all those kinds of things. But I feel like we don't ever really voice our expectations of our friends.
Yeah, like what are
because
you
they're so,
looking
like,
for in a friend?
Yeah.
We're always talking about what we're looking for in romantic
Yeah.
partners, but like why are we not talking about that for friends?
That's so true. What do you look for in a friend?
You, baby.
Or like, what are your like things that you wouldn't want in a friendship, or like accept in a friendship, or think that would be like worth bringing up? Because I guess it's also like different for like, okay, if I'm like making a friend versus this like a friend that I've already got, and like something comes up, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, totally. But it's like, who do we like choose to associate ourselves with and have like keep in our lives? Because I do think there's kind of a point when you're like in a friendship and it's like, okay, now we're just going to be friends forever. Like, you know, at the start of a friendship, or like some friendships are very like situational, they just exist in a certain sphere, but then sometimes something clicks where it's like, okay, we're going to be friends forever. And I think sometimes when that happens, you kind of like lose the like critical thinking about your friendships in a way. I don't know, I think there can be periods where it's like, I don't really think about like what this person is contributing to my life. Like, I just think we can be quite passive in our friendships and like with who we just like keep around us, even if their lives are not that compatible with ours, or like you don't agree with their morals or whatever, or like, you know, stuff like that. But in a relationship, for some reason, it's under constant scrutiny. Like, you're always thinking about like, oh, how can I make my relationship better? Or like, you're always like zoomed in on the other person's life and like what they're doing because you're so involved with them. But it's like, are we not equally as involved in our friends' lives, if not more? Or like, for some people more? I don't know. I just think it's weird that we choose to like scrutinize the people we're in a relationship with so much.
like it's kind of like even in two ways, like in a positive and a negative, in that like there's so much more like acceptance that we have for our friends.
Yeah.
But like if someone had a trait that one of your friends has, you'd be like, oh no, like definitely not as a romantic partner. So I don't know, yeah, it's like back to these kind of like expectations, and it's like freedom almost, like that's kind of like how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, 100%. But I guess like what I'm looking for in a friend is like, yeah, that acceptance that you were saying. Like, you just feel free to be yourself around them. And I think that comes with like time. Like, you kind of like gain the authority to like have someone be completely themselves around you at all times, whereas like with a relationship, mostly, at least in like the dating world, like the people that you end up in a relationship with, you probably won't have known them for as long as you know your friends. And so like all of this like understanding and like acceptance is condensed into such a short period of time, and we're kind of just like thrown into this like situation with them. And I think that's what causes the whole like scrutiny of their actions, and like why we feel like we can bring up things more, and also just by nature of like the label of the relationship or whatever, which I don't know, I don't think that that's like a good thing. But yeah, I just want to understand it basically. And then what else do I look for in a friend? Equal input, I guess, like feeling equally like they want to be friends with me as much as I want to be friends with them, you know?
Like a balanced dynamic.
Yeah, and like that you enjoy each other's company, and like you can have like a mix of like serious conversations, like deep conversations, and just like fun, stupid conversations, and like you know, because I think also some people get into friendships where like the whole dynamic is fun, or the whole dynamic is like, I mean, I don't really know anyone whose whole friendship dynamic is serious, but I'm sure there are some people. And I think like sometimes in terms of like fun friendships, or like some people have friends that they always just go out with and get drunk with, and I think in those kinds of friendships you can kind of lack that active kind of like awareness of who that person is, because you only see them in like a certain setting. And sometimes when you take them out of that setting and you like look at them in the grand scheme of your life and like what you want for yourself and like the values that you adhere to, don't know why I said it like that, you kind of like, yeah, it's just like, why am I friends with this person? Like, we aren't really compatible as friends.
Yeah, and it can also be true that like you have a friend that you just go out with and
Yeah,
that's it, and like you're very happy with that. But I don't know, I just think it's about like kind of back to what you were saying, like I want to know that this person is like in it as much as I'm in it. Like I wouldn't want to be in a dynamic where like this person sees me as their best friend and I see them as my going out friend. Like that would feel horrible.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I feel like that's important. Like, yeah, that's cool if you're both like know that that's what your relationship is. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a friendship that is like just for fun.
yeah,
Or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I think friendships can take like many roles, and I guess it is thinking about like, okay, what is this serving in my life? Like, what role is this playing, and like what value is this adding?
yeah,
And then also equally like thinking about yourself in terms of like, oh, this is my friend that I talk to about like my relationship issues, but it's like, have you thought about the friend? Like, maybe they don't give a fuck. Like, maybe they don't want to like hear constantly about it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to like, again, like think about that balance. Like, am I constantly like putting all this shit on someone, and like, are they giving me like all their shit too? Like, because then I feel like, okay, fine, you know, like this is clearly an exchange. Like, we're both like venting to each other. That's cool. But if it's like constantly one person,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think like that's like okay either. I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like you have to be aware of that dynamic and that balance.
Yeah, I feel like it's about being aware of it, and then it's also like, how do you know when it's big enough to bring up, or like, how do you draw the boundary between like, this is your friend's problem that they're doing this thing constantly, but also like, I'm facilitating this, so like, why am I letting this like energy into my life? And like, how do you bring that up? Like, what do you say? And what if that person thinks that you're like completely wrong in bringing that up?
Yeah. And like, also, what if like, oh yeah, like this friend constantly keeps talking to me about this when like I don't want to be horrible and be like, because you obviously like care about your friend, you want to like be there for them or whatever, but like, how many times can you hear about the same thing? You know, like it starts like making you be like annoyed at your friend when like you're not annoyed at your friend, you just like don't want to hear about the situation anymore, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And like, you don't want to argue with your friends. I never understand people who have friends, like friendship groups that always argue, because I just like, why are you friends with them if you're arguing? Like, I feel like you expect to argue in a relationship, but like in a friendship you shouldn't really, like, I don't know.
But I don't like fighting with anyone. Like, I don't, I hate being in a, like, an actual fight with anyone. But I'm not, like, that kind of person. I feel like there's a lot of people that, like, constantly bicker and that kind of thing. And that's just, like, all banter and, like, it's all love. And, like, you know, like, I feel like that's definitely a thing. It's just not for me. Like, that's not the kind of relationships I have, I don't think.
But, like, low-key, maybe that's better. Because it's not like you don't still feel those things if you, like, aren't bringing them up. It's just, like, it's under the surface. And, like, that's kind of a problem in itself. Like, I don't know. We never argue. We've never really had, like... Have we had an argument? Have we ever been in like a sustained fight? We've been friends for 10 years, just for context.
No, the only times I can, like, because I don't even like, we obviously disagree on things, but it's never like deep.
Yeah. But do we?
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah, I feel like I'll be like, what? No, like, I don't think it's that at all.
Oh, yeah, no, I guess. But that's
like only fights is
argument.
like that pride. But I don't even know what it was about. But we were like screaming.
We were screaming down the phone at each other. Maria's like, you know, honey, fuck you. And I was like,
No, what I
fair.
find wildest is that wasn't even the pride that I was fucked up at.
No.
I was like sober.
We so
I can't imagine
easily-
fighting you because I feel like we've fought a lot when I've been drunk.
Yeah, we have.
That's my
You're
usual
annoying
fighting
when
with
you're
people.
drunk.
Like,
Yeah, because Maria just gets like really like unreasonable when she's drunk. Like she will just be so stubborn and like push things.
yeah, and
So
then I'll get
much.
annoyed that people aren't letting me do stupid shit. So then
Yeah.
I'll start getting angry.
And then it's just like annoying to have to look after her and like try and convince her not to do stupid things.
Yeah.
But in terms of like a problem in our friendship, I don't think we've ever like had a fight in that regard. But I guess the pride thing was that basically it was like when I was with my ex, or like was I even with her? I don't think I was with her. Regardless, I went to Pride with her and like a few of her friends, and then we were meant to meet up with you guys. And like obviously this wasn't like an isolated incident, yeah. Obviously there was so much going on before that you guys were just like annoyed at me, like we were saying, constantly talking about problems in this relationship, and then like going back to this person, and it was like fully my fault. Like I was facilitating it. I can't fucking talk today. I'm really hungover, guys. Yeah, and then we didn't meet up because there was like a barrier in the road or whatever, and we couldn't like cross. If you've been to London Pride, you know, like it's just impossible to get anywhere because like they block all the roads off and you can't like cross any roads, and it's just like
Impossible to find people.
yeah,
anyway.
you can't go and try and find people. You have to go with them. Like you just can't. We've made this mistake multiple times at Pride, and it's like, why? Anyway, so yeah, we were like 17 as well, but Maria was just like really annoyed at me because we were meant to meet, and I was like, no, we're coming, but like we couldn't come. And then I was annoyed at you guys because you were annoyed at me, and I was like, I'm not doing anything wrong. But I know I was being annoying, but I felt like the argument wasn't really about that. It was about other things. But yeah, anyway.
I just like, literally the thought of us shouting at each other is like
so
quite funny.
Yeah. I know. I don't think we've shouted at each other since.
Yeah, no, I genuinely, I can't think of any like real fights.
And like I don't really fight with any of my friends. I fought with like one of my other best friends like a couple of times about really stupid stuff, but that's mainly just because we're like only children and we're both equally stubborn and like want to be right, and we're both perfectionists.
Yeah, but and I mean I feel like like if you're annoying me, unless it's like something that I feel like I really can't say, I feel like I can say. You know?
Yeah, I feel like you have
Like,
no
we can-
qualms about like telling me I'm doing something stupid.
Or like we can argue and like we both know it's not like we're not actually mad.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm
But
thinking
I
of
feel
like
like-
times, like sober times that you've been like annoyed at me or I've been annoyed at you. And maybe like I'm thinking of like interrailing Sri Lanka, like if there were any times. I remember I got annoyed at you because like you wouldn't stop singing, and I didn't say that because I thought that it was too mean.
You always would tell me to stop singing anyway.
I know, but in my head it was like really getting to me. Like I was like, I can't take it no more.
I remember you got mad at me in interrailing because I was being mean to you. I remember I was being quite mean to you for a few days, but I think that's because you kept getting drunk, and like I couldn't get angry about that when you were drunk because you just weren't listening. So I think I was just displacing that anger onto like being mean to you.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I was a bit of a dickhead as well on that.
Yeah.
So, oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like the other day when I was gonna go like meet up with this guy that I used to sleep with, and like basically it was after like this rave, he wanted to meet up with me at like in the morning to go for coffee. And you were like, oh honey, no, come on, don't be stupid. Like she got so mad because she was like, no, that's just stupid. Like you were really passionate about it.
No, but like my anger was at the guy,
No,
not
yeah,
at you.
yeah, of course. But like I feel like that kind of thing, you have no trouble calling me out. But yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it is about like the faith in like the recovery of the argument as well, or like
And I think, as you were saying earlier, you like earn that. Like I feel like I can say certain things, or like for instance in that like about that guy that texted you, it's like I can say it because I feel I've heard about, I know the history, like
Yeah.
I've been there, like, and also I know you very well, like, you know what I mean, like all of these things add up to you being able to like say something and like it being okay.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like in a relationship they might not have all of this context of like you and who you are.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of like, okay, what is this kind of conflict that actually comes up in relationships that you'd bring up, and then versus like the kind of conflict in friendships. Because like, okay, what could be an issue in relationships? Like, we're not spending enough time together.
But that can also be a problem in friendships. But then you just make more excuses for your friends, like, oh, but they have like so much going on, they've got a lot on their mind, kind of thing. But then you can't just like excuse it forever. I guess you just like have the trust that it's just a temporary thing. But like, what if it is just a permanent thing? Then it's like you can't really be friends without spending time together. So like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. When is it worth it actually bringing up? Like, when is it time to bring it up? I think maybe it's like let's say, okay, the issue is I feel like you haven't been texting me back, or like you keep like not texting me back. I don't know, I feel like you can just be like, yo, like just say it as a joke almost, like, yo, like no, but then I don't know, because like, okay, like I genuinely don't know, because you know, with like this friend that we have some kind of conflict with at the moment
In our heads.
in
Like,
our heads, yeah,
she doesn't know at all that we have this conflict.
and it's like, I don't know, I don't know if I can just like say what the issue is.
Yeah, because you feel like you don't have the authority to, or what?
Yeah, or like the authority, the like security.
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
feel like it won't be received well if you do. Like, you don't
Yeah.
feel safe to like express your emotions.
Yeah, or if it's even like
Valid.
worth it. I don't know, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna get out of the interaction, really. So I don't know, I guess maybe that's a part of it. It's like, okay, what do you actually want from this interaction? Because I feel like that's the best way of like approaching conflict in any way. It's like, okay, why am I bringing this up? Like, what do I actually, do I want something to change? Like, do I want something like
Yeah.
from the person? Do I just want to like express how I'm feeling? Because then it's like, I feel like those conversations can look so different. Like, if you
Yeah.
kind of go into it not even knowing what you want out of it, then it's just going to be like, what are you going to say? Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to fucking say?
Yeah, and then what if they just turn around and they're like, well, no, like, I'm not gonna change, or like, I don't really care. Then it's like, okay, well then you're not friends anymore. Friendship
Yeah.
breakup.
Yeah, and I guess it's also putting those boundaries, like, on, like, when you're setting a boundary, it's also about, like, setting that boundary for yourself of, like, okay, I told this person that I really don't like it.
Yeah.
How they've stood me up, like, 3 times, or, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah,
they
yeah.
cancelled last minute 3 times. Okay, I'll make this plan with them, like, this one time, like, give them another shot. I've voiced, like, what happened, like, how I feel about the situation. They were like, okay, yeah, noted, cool, like, I'm sorry. And if, like, I'll give them one more chance. If it happens again, then it's like you have to set that boundary of like, okay, am I just gonna like keep letting it happen?
Yeah.
And like, because I still want to see this person, so like whatever, even if they like keep canceling on me, I'll still like be making the effort. You have to be like, no, well, I can't do that, because otherwise they know that they can just fucking do that, and I'm still
Yeah.
gonna be around.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to do, that's cool, like, you know what I mean, but like,
And I think there is like a certain element of like taking our friends for granted sometimes. Like, it's like, oh, well, they won't mind if I cancel, or like, oh, you know, they'll always be there, kind of thing. But these are like relationships that you have to maintain, and there are things that you have to do to make sure you're at a good place with someone, and that like you maintain that dynamic, like equal balance dynamic, and both people feel like they're getting as much out of the relationship as the other. Yeah, and then also, like, I was talking about this with someone the other day. Sometimes a friend will say something about you, and it will be, like, if your boyfriend or, like, your romantic partner said the same thing, it would be like, fuck you. Like, how dare you say that to me? But, like, if a friend says it, it's, like, it's still, like, it can sting a little bit for a second, but then you like go away and think about it, and you're like, oh, okay, they have like a valid point, you know, like they're pointing out something about me that I should probably change, because you like trust that they have your best interest at heart. Not that you don't with a romantic partner, but it's just like, I don't know what the difference is really. But yeah, I think friends kind of like have the right to show you things about yourself, or like, you know, even if it's jokingly, kind of make fun of you for something that you're doing that like maybe no one else would call out. And like that's a huge part of friendships, I feel like, is growth. Like you grow together and you like learn from each other and you kind of like enrich each other's lives. But like if there's not that kind of like open communication, then the friendship is a little bit stunted in a way. Or like, not that you can't grow without having like those kind of conversations of like pointing personality flaws out, or like actions or whatever, because I think you can. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's very valuable to have like people that know you and see you to like have an insight into your life, or like, I don't know, that's where you like talk to people and like I don't know, I personally care about my friends' opinions because like I know them, and like I know that they're smart, and like that they care about me, and I know that they know me, and so like as you were saying, like they have my best interests, and like a lot of stuff about you that I wish I had in myself, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, like your friends are there to like, as you said, help you grow, like push you to be better.
Yeah.
And like
hold you to account.
Yeah. You hear people all the time say that they like become friends with like people that have aspects that they admire or like wish they had in themselves.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
They want a little bit more of. Like at the moment I want to like make friends with people who are like fun. Not that I don't have fun friends already, no offense, but like I feel like I kind of like forget what it's like to just like go out, even though I hated going out. Like I do hate going out low key, but I want to be reminded of like that side of myself, you know. And I feel like that's an important thing to do, is like have friends, like just have friends with different personalities, and it like shows you different parts of yourself that you wouldn't know about. And like in a relationship you do grow in a different way. It's just like a more concentrated version of that, because it's like bouncing off one person, whereas I think the joy of having friends is like you get to bounce off like lots of different people. And like that's why it's such a red flag when people don't have friends, or like at least like two close friends, you know, because it's like, what does that say about you? Like why not?
Why?
How do you have any accountability? How do you like have any growth? This is what I don't understand about like male friendships as well, is like, what the fuck are you talking about? If it's not like like give me the rundown of your day. Like I was talking to people about this the other day, how like their boyfriend's friends might have just like broken up with their girlfriend and they don't even fucking know why they broke up with them. They're just like, oh yeah, they broke up. And it's like, as if you would ever break up with someone and I wouldn't know like every single detail of why that happened.
Yeah, honestly, I find it insane. Like, when this whole thing with my boyfriend happened, like, during the summer, we had this, like, little, bit of conflict. And I was, like, talking about it the entire time with Honey. And I was like, oh, like, what did your friends say? And he's like, oh, I didn't tell them. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't tell them? And he's like, oh, like, I prefer to, like, keep my relationship private. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Who are you? Fucking, like, James Bond? Like,
no, because he's like, oh, no, because then they start getting, like, bad opinions of you. And I'm like, oh, it's so, like, not what happened with my friends.
But that's, like, also bad vibes
I don't know.
For a friendship. Like, you have to be able to trust that you can tell your friend anything without judgment.
Yeah. No, I'm not one, like, whatever, do whatever the fuck you want, conduct your relationships however you want. It's just not for me. Like, I'm the kind of person that, like, I have to share.
Yeah. And, like, how do you figure out how you feel about something without talking to people about it? Like, obviously there are some things that you need to, like, process in your own time, and you don't need other people's opinions. And, like, when you've made up your mind about certain things, that's that. But other things, like, that is literally why we can talk. Like, that's why we have a mouth, to be able to, like, talk things through, like
Yeah,
have
honestly.
conversations to figure out how we feel about things, to be challenged in like our mindset.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like men need to talk to each other more, because that's why they're so like emotionally immature, low-key. Like
It is.
they don't have like emotional capacity, because they just like don't know what it's like to like actually dive into why you feel that way.
Yeah, and like it's such a green flag when you're like looking to get into a relationship with a man and like they have a close knit of friends and you can tell that they like really talk, and like their friends aren't just men, they're like women as well. You're like, wow, the emotional intelligence is like applaudable. Like, congrats.
My dad and I were actually talking about this today. What do you think is more important? Like, okay, so in this example, let's say like we're like, okay, we're gonna have like a weekly call that is like mandatory every Monday to just talk.
What, us?
Yeah,
Or
this
you
is
and
just
your dad?
this is just to set the example of like what I mean.
Okay.
And it's like it's like you have to make this call. Like if you don't make this call, like it's not good.
Like the
Anyway.
friendship's over. Or like
Yeah,
who's this-
essentially.
Yeah.
Essentially, but let's say like I'm like, oh, but what if one week like I'm not really in the mood, like I just don't really want to.
Yeah.
Like what's better, to like be honest, you know,
Yeah.
or to like protect someone's feelings?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I do that sometimes. Like sometimes a friend will call me and it's like, it's not that I don't want to talk to you. It's just like I'm not in the mood. And I feel like with a good friend, they'll understand that. Like they'll have the foresight and like the knowledge of you to know like, okay, it's like probably not personal. Like if it happens repeatedly, I'd be offended. Like, oh, I just don't want to talk to you. I'm clearly avoiding your calls kind of thing. But if it was just like a one-off, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. Can we do like another day? No?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm
Does
just
that answer
wondering
your
like
question?
Yeah, no, I'm just
Okay.
wondering like what you think if like, should you protect someone's feelings, or like should you value like being honest? Because also like from my point of view, it's like, well, I'd rather you like told me you didn't want to be there than like answer the call and then like I can just tell you don't want to be there the whole time, you know?
Right.
Like I'd rather you came with a good attitude and like actually wanted
Yeah.
to do it.
Yeah, and it's the same with like spending time with people. It's like if you cancel because you're just like not in the mood, then it's like, yeah, totally fair. Because like I don't want you to hang out and just like not want to be there. No one wants a friend that doesn't want to be with them.
But
like,
then at
doesn't
what
wanna
time do you
spend
like
time with
take
them.
like at what point do you like take it personally?
I think it was just
I feel
like, a
I say no
consistent
a lot
thing.
to a lot of people.
Yeah, you do. And sometimes
But
it
it's
is
like,
sometimes it is personal and sometimes I understand, you know? Like, and I
Yeah.
feel like I voice that. I'm like, oh, you're so, like, why? No, come on, come out.
Yeah, I don't know. I do think like it's bad because I don't want people to take it personally, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's like sometimes I guess it is personal. Like sometimes I just don't like I don't want to be around people.
Yeah. But I also think that, like, sometimes you should
Yeah,
do
yeah,
it
yeah,
even
yeah.
if you don't want to, because you know, like, sometimes you'll be in a bad mood and then you'll be around people and it's like, okay, I actually like really needed this. And like I think you need to be around people to like feel like yourself, you know, even if you're an introvert. I think you need that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't felt like that in ages, but like really recently, like a few times after like hanging out with people, I'm like, oh, I'm actually like in such a better mood. Like I was in a terrible mood, and like now I'm having a great day.
Yeah.
So that's positive in my life.
Yes. Progress. Exactly, but that's
But
like,
yeah, because I also get the other side. Like I would take it personally, you know? So maybe it's like I would want someone to lie and like protect my feelings rather than like be honest. Like I don't know if like I always would value honesty above everything else.
okay, but say like we had plans and I cancelled because I wanted to go to another plan more than I wanted to hang out with you, and then I just like lied about it to protect your feelings rather than just being like, oh, I had other plans. Like, how would that make you feel?
I guess if I didn't find out, it's fine. No, but if I did find out, That would really bother me, I guess. Yeah, I guess I would rather know. Because it wouldn't bother me if you told me, probably.
Yeah,
Or like
exactly.
maybe it would be like, it would bother me slightly like in the moment, and then I'd get over it.
Yeah.
But if I found out, that would be like, but that's because, yeah, I guess because the lie hurts more. Yeah, true.
But yeah, and also like if you were just honest, it wouldn't be prefaced with like, I don't want to hang out with you. It would just be like, I have these other plans. Do you mind if I go to them instead?
Yeah.
And if you were like, oh, I really want to hang out, I'd be like, okay, fair enough, because you're my friend and like I value your time. And like if you want to hang out with me, I'm gonna be like, okay, because you're my friend. You know.
Maria's feeling social. Better take this opportunity.
Yeah, like please hang out with me,
Snatch it up.
please, Maria.
But then why can't we like apply that same energy to like bringing up conflict, you know? Because it's like, I would want to know, like, if I'm doing something that's like genuinely hurting my friend's feelings, or like making someone feel a type of way, or like, you know what I mean, if like anyone feels disrespected, like I would want to know.
Yeah, like I hate the idea that I would do anything to like upset a friend or like annoy them and like they wouldn't tell me.
And they're just like bitching about how annoying I'm being, like,
yeah,
to
it's
everyone
so shit when you
else.
find out that people have been bitching about you and like not telling you, and it's like, I know that I do that, but I wouldn't want that to happen to me. And it's like, it's just because it's like uncomfortable to have those conversations, but most of the time it's like such an irrational train of thought, because it's like, you know, if you tell your friends, they're going to be reasonable about it. They'll probably just be like, oh shit, I had no idea I was doing that. Like if they're a good friend. And like I have problems with like friends occasionally, and it's like I've had literal conversations with them where they've been like, well, yeah, like I know if you had a problem with me, you'd just like tell me. And I'm like, yeah, I would
Like,
most
yeah.
of the time, but sometimes it's like a little bit too hard, or like, you know, sometimes that it's just like a little bit too personal, and like you're thinking, oh, like because you know them so well, you like start to overthink like all the different things they're feeling and like experiencing in their life, and like weighing up whether it's worth bringing up this thing, like how important bringing up this thing is versus like their feelings, you know.
Yeah.
And like if they're gonna take it personally, like you're doing all of this like trying to understand how they might react basically. But like mostly they're not gonna react in like a negative way, even if you think they are. And like if they do, then it's like, that's not really a friendship.
Yeah. It's hard to like be mean. Like, not that you're being mean, but like as in, it's hard to like say if someone's doing something that's annoying you, because it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings.
Exactly. And like I think your friend would recognize that it like takes a lot to bring up something. Like you're not just bringing up like problems left, right and center, but then like in some relationships you are. And like obviously that's not a good relationship either, but like I just think there's a lot less like picking your battles in relationships, and maybe that's an insecure attachment style thing. Like maybe insecure relationships, they don't have as many problems, or like there's just like more that free flow of information where they bring things up whenever it happens.
Yeah, no, I do think it probably does have something to do with like attachment. Because I feel like the reason why I feel like I did kind of mention it at the start, but it's like there's so much more at stake. Like if I don't know, if I don't like get all this like reassurance and affirmation from my friends, it doesn't make me doubt that they love me like at all. I don't know. I just don't need it. Like I don't doubt that my friends love me in the same way that I doubt my like relationships. But I guess it is still like an insecurity of like, oh, I don't want to bring this up because like, what if they don't think it's like a big deal, or like they don't care enough to change it, or like, what if it's like too much, like too insulting, and they don't want to be my friend anymore, you know what I mean? Or like, what if this is like an issue that can't be fixed, and like by saying it out loud you're kind of like
creating a problem,
like making it real almost.
Yeah, and sometimes it's like, if you bring something up and it creates more conflict, then like, is it really worth bringing it up, you know?
Exactly. I feel like a lot of stuff for me isn't worth bringing it up in friendships because it's not like affecting me.
Yeah, and you know you'll
enough,
probably like get over it. And, like,
yeah, exactly. It's like not affecting me enough to say something, whereas in a relationship, like, it is. And I don't know, like, I my relationship life balance is like not one to it's not one to lead by example or anything, but
really.
but yeah,
Maria's like pie chart of life is like like a small sliver of life, and then the rest. I feel like that's so mean. I'm sorry.
No. It's fine.
She's got no life.
Just tell the truth.
Relationship.
But yeah, I don't know. I think that's like also like a me problem. I wouldn't want to then like have my friendships start affecting me as much.
Yeah.
And like already like I don't know if like I feel like someone's mad at me or like something's wrong, like I can't deal with the, for instance, like with this friend, like genuinely what's bothering me the most right now is that like in this dynamic she thinks I've done something wrong. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it bothers me that she's mad at me. Like, that's the most unsettling part of it all. It's like I don't even know if I care about like rekindling this friendship. I just like can't have anyone be mad at me.
Yeah, people please alive.
Yeah. Can you think of any time that, like, maybe just to wrap it up, that someone's, like, brought something up to you and, like, how did they do it? Did you like it? Was it a good, like, did it change your relationship and change the way you saw them?
The only, like, thing I can think of is, like, again with my ex, when you, like, had that little intervention with me and you were like, honey, I feel like this is just, like, enough now. Like, you need to stop fueling this dynamic, and like you're like, we're just sick of hearing about it, like it's just too much, and it, like you're creating the problem. And I was like, wow, you're so right. But I'm gonna keep doing it just for a little bit longer and then I'll change when I'm ready. But I do think that that's like the value of things being brought up in like a sensitive way. I mean, like if your friend says something and you don't agree with it, like you'll come to terms with it in your own time, and like maybe over time your like perception of how you're acting in a certain situation will change, and then like once you're ready you can do it. And like a good friendship is one where like you feel safe to have that space and time to like process what someone's told you or like what someone has like shown you about yourself, and then you can like apply it in whatever way you want, or like don't, and that's fine. But like then what if you like disagree with what they've said, and like that creates a whole problem and you don't know like how to act around them after that. You know, like maybe then that is a make or break situation. But like in that situation, like if I had just kept acting in a way that like fueled this toxic dynamic, then like I wouldn't have expected you to want to be my friend, you know, because like it probably wasn't very fun for you to like have that over a sustained period of time. And like you were obviously saying it with my best interests at heart, but also like a bit for yourself too, because you were being affected by it. So it's like fair enough if I had kept doing it and you had just decided like, oh hun, this is like enough now, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so valuable to have like people in your life that know you and can hold up like a mirror in like not only romantic relationships, because like we've talked about this before, how like you can get so like lost in it and like not see any perspective and like any of the bad shit, and just it's so much, and not just in relationships, like in loads of areas of life. So I don't know, I do think it's important to like share with your friends, and like, you know, you always know that like you shouldn't be doing something if it's like something that you're like hiding.
Yeah, so true. I hate people that are like mysterious about stuff. I'm just like, why were you keeping this a secret? You know, like sometimes our friend doesn't tell us stuff, and I know that he's not doing it in like a malicious like secretive way, but sometimes he'll just say stuff and I'm like, why do I not know about this? Like, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like I love, like, I'm such a little nosy bitch, firstly. Like, I just love to know what's going
You
on in
need to be
people's
in the know,
lives.
yeah.
And it's like, if I don't know that, then, like, if I don't know what's going on, then, like, are we friends? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. It just makes me feel a bit caught off guard when, like, I discover something that I feel like I
Yeah,
should
true.
know.
It feels like such a betrayal. It's
Yeah.
like, why didn't you tell me? Like,
Yeah.
Shane cut his hair yesterday and he didn't even tell me before he did it. And I'm like,
That's just
that's
weird.
such a betrayal.
Yeah, that's just weird behavior. I'm sorry. Like, what?
It is always awkward, like, when someone brings something up, but I feel like most of the time, like, you are
Mm.
glad it happened rather than not.
Yeah, can you think of an example where I've brought something up?
I basically, like, stopped drinking because, like, you mostly. I'd say actually only you. And, like, that's also the thing, like, for instance, like, I've had to have, like, a couple interventions of, like, bad habits, essentially. Let's just say that.
No comment.
And, like, in those moments, I've been like, oh, wow, like, you really see who, like, really cares about you. Because, like, you and, like, Shane, you know, were, like, the people that said something. And, like, even though all my other friends, because, like, now, since time has gone on, like, we'll talk about it, you know, and, like, they'll agree how I had, like, such a drinking problem or whatever. But it's like, they never said nothing. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't say anything because it's like, and I understand, obviously,
Yeah.
like, you don't want to say anything because you don't want to, like, offend anyone. Like, you don't want, like, you're not going to be like an 18-year-old telling another 18-year-old, like, oh, you drink too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I understand
Yeah.
all the reasons, but, like, I do feel like from the receiving end, it did feel like I never really took it as an offense. Well, even if I was like, oh, God, like, this is really awkward or bad, or, like,
Please.
I was quite embarrassed. I don't know, maybe you remember it differently. Like, I don't feel like I was ever, like, defensive. Like, I
No,
feel like I
I
was,
don't
like,
think you were.
willing to accept it. And, like, even, like, very soon after, I was, like, very, like, touched almost. Like, oh, this person, like, clearly cares about me, and, like,
Yeah.
they care about me enough to say something. You know? I don't know. I feel like it's a big testament of, like, oh, wow, this person, like, cares about me enough to be honest with me.
Yeah, and, like, you trust them to, like, point stuff like that out, you know?
Exactly. So, I don't know. Maybe, like, confrontation and conflict is, like, a good sign. Like,
We've changed our minds. This is the first time it's ever happened. But yeah, like, you just, like, we wouldn't be the people we are today without our friends. So, like, we have to give them space to, like, criticize us. And, like, you know, like, it can't all just be fun all the time.
yeah. And actually, sorry, just to add another thing to what I was saying, it's like, it's also like, oh, wow, this person, like, really sees what's going on. Because, like, I feel like when you're going through a problem or something like that, it's like, you won't even say how bad it is, you know? Or, like, you
Yeah.
won't even, like, you'll lie about things or, like, hide things. And it's like, oh, no, like, this person, like, sees, like, and knows me. It's, like, the nicest thing to be seen.
Yeah.
So, like,
we all just want to be
show
seen.
your friends you see them by starting beef with them.
Yeah, that's our advice. No, but I love it when you say stuff, like, when you make just, like, comments about me that it's like, wow, like, she really knows me. You know? I'm just like, wow, every time. Like, the other day you said, I don't know, I was talking about relationship drama. I mean, not that I'm in a relationship, but, you know, just dating vibes, you know, my inner relationship life, basically.
Your fantasy life.
Yeah, my relationship to relationships. And Maria goes like, yeah, but I feel like enough time has passed where you're like not in the whole like I hate relationships honey phase anymore, and now you're like relationships maybe aren't that bad, but like realistically you don't actually want to be in a relationship. And I was like, yeah, that's so true, babes, thanks for reminding me of that. Almost indoctrinated myself again there. And then we also discovered that Maria's fatal flaw is that she wants to have her cake and eat it too. And it's just one of those things that's like, so true. But yeah, anyway, we hope we have changed your minds too, or like made you see conflict with friends a little bit differently. We obviously have changed our minds in the course of this episode, so that's great. And as always, you can find more content from us on all our social media, but our big announcement is that we have a Patreon now. You can go join it. It's Sextras Podcast on Patreon and every other social media. Basically, you can get like bonus content on our Patreon. We're going to release the full video, unedited video of each episode.
Yeah, you'll get deleted scenes from this very episode right there.
Yeah. And we're also going to release like a little voice memo of like our planning sessions of each episode, where it's like the original idea phase. You can hear our conversations.
Get quite into our like actual personal lives, apparently.
We really do. So if you're interested in hearing that, go over to our Patreon. You also get a free sticker, and we're going to give a shout out to our patrons for the first month. So
actually, speaking of, yeah, we just want to shout out Jason,
our first ever patron. Thank you so much for joining our little Sextras community. We can't wait for the community to grow. We hope that you guys are as excited to like continue these conversations as we are, because we have so much to say, as you might have guessed in this 87th episode. I don't know what episode number this is, but yeah, anyway, so make sure you keep getting involved, subscribe wherever you listen, because as we have said, we are doing little mini series so you can keep up to date, make sure you never miss an episode, and go to our website sextraspodcast.com. That's it. We'll see you next week for our lovely conversation with Miss Shasta Nelson.
See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Guys. Bye.
You've been listening to Sextras, presented by Honey Jane Wyatt and Maria Jose Hayodatiyi, produced by Mabel Productions.